All right, let's talk about a critical investment for pretty much any company's bottom line, an AI-powered engine built to audit vendor invoices. We're going to break down the business case and show you exactly how this kind of tech can plug some seriously expensive financial leaks. So let me just start with a question for you. Is your business silently, maybe invisibly, leaking revenue from your vendor payments? For so many finance teams, this is a huge blind spot. It's like this slow, steady drain that just goes completely unnoticed. So what does a leak like that actually look like in real numbers? Well, based on the source material, we're talking about $80,000 a year. That's the average cost of invoice errors and overbilling that just fly under the radar. It's literally money walking right out the door. And it's not just about the cash. It's about your team's time, which is just as valuable, right? We're talking about an average of 20 hours every single month, just wasted on these tedious manual invoice checks. That's half a work week, every month gone, on a task that is just begging to be automated. Okay, so let's put a name to this problem. We'll call it the $80,000 revenue leakage. But where in the world does a number that big actually come from? Let's dig into that. Well, the source of this leakage becomes crystal clear when you look at the data. Studies show that more than 8% of all vendor invoices have errors. And here's the real kicker. Over 60% of those mistakes, they're in the vendor's favor. It's a small percentage, but it adds up to a massive financial drain over time. This whole mess really boils down to three core pain points. First, we've got the manual reconciliation, that time suck we talked about. But then there are vendor compliance gaps. I mean, are you positive every single vendor you work with is a legit registered business? Because a mistake there can lead to huge penalties. And finally, if you're a global business, those multi-currency errors can be an absolute nightmare at the end of the month. So we've defined the problem. It's costly, it's a huge time sink, and frankly, it's pretty risky. So now let's talk about the solution, an AI-powered audit engine. This is really about moving from painful complexity to total clarity. Instead of just throwing more hours or more people at the problem, the real solution is to implement a smarter, automated system. So what is this thing exactly? It's a vendor audit engine. And this isn't just some simple script. It's a full-blown AI-powered automation that is constantly monitoring payments, detecting discrepancies against contracts, and verifying your vendors are legit. And it does it all in real time. Let's look at what this actually delivers. You get 24/7 monitoring, so literally nothing slips through the cracks. The AI can find these tiny variances, stuff a human would almost certainly miss. It verifies vendors on the spot to slash fraud risk. And this is crucial, it keeps a human in the loop for the final say-so on anything tricky, all while building a perfect, clean audit trail. Okay, so that's the what, but you're probably wondering, how does this actually work? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the 7-stage automated pipeline that powers this whole process. It's a really smart, logical flow. The whole thing kicks off the second a payment is triggered in a system like Stripe. The engine then filters for high-value payments, does its own research to make sure the vendor is legit, and then it downloads the invoice and the contract. Then it hands it all over to the AI to do the heavy lifting, the audit. If there are any red flags, it gets escalated to a person for a final decision, and the whole thing gets logged. Simple. So at the very heart of this pipeline, you've basically got two AI brains working for you. First, there's Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Think of Claude as your super diligent, tireless financial auditor. Its only job is to read those PDFs and compare every single line item against the contract. Then you have the Tavily API. This is your compliance investigator. It's out there scouring the web, doing background checks, and making sure your vendor is exactly who they say they are. Okay, we've covered the problem, we've covered the tech. Now, let's get to the bottom line, the part everyone really cares about, the business case. The reason this investment is such a no-brainer is the first-year return on investment. And just to be clear, this is a conservative calculation. You're saving $18,000 in labor, you're recovering $47,000 in discrepancies that you were just losing before, you're avoiding at least $25,000 in potential audit penalties, and you're cutting down on those costly foreign exchange errors. So you add all of that up, and you land on this number, $102,000 in total annual savings. That is the value you unlock just by plugging those silent leaks. And what's the investment required to generate over $100,000 in savings every year? It's a one-time implementation cost of $5,000. That's it. So when you put those two numbers together, the savings and the cost, you arrive at this, a 1,500%, let me say that again, a 1,500% average first-year ROI. This is a perfect example of the incredible leverage you can get from really targeted AI automation. And hey, if that number somehow isn't enough, just listen to this direct quote from the source material. The implementation pays for itself in the first month from discrepancies caught. The payback period isn't a year, it can be just a few weeks. So the business case is a slam dunk. The only logical question left is how do you get this engine up and running in your own organization? Well, the great news is this isn't some massive 6-month IT project. It's a straightforward 4-week sprint. By week 3, you're already running a live pilot with real payouts. And by the end of the month, the system is fully handed over and your team is trained. You're off to the races. So to sum it all up, for a $5,000 one-time investment, you can stop that revenue leak, you can save your team countless hours, and you can generate a 6-figure annual return. The source material for this entire explainer includes a direct link to acquire this engine. Just look for the I want this button to get started.